Hey gang, come on in. It's playoff time here at Crossing Broad.
You give me a ring.
What's happening, everybody? Bob Weichel, crossingbroad.com. NFL Divisional Playoffs upon us. 8 teams remain. We'll find out after this weekend which 4 teams will be left standing with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line next month. If you're looking to bet on these games, head over to crossingbroad.com/DK. Download DraftKings Sportsbook. They will give you a risk-free first bet of up to $500. Also, be sure to check out FoxBet, crossingbroad.com/FB. $20 just for signing up, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. All right, before we get into our individual game picks and best bets of the weekend, I want to take a step back and look at some of the larger overall big picture trends that we're working with here. Now, when you look at the playoffs, typically, the underdog is a good play. And if you look at our numbers here, they're 76, 61, and 2 against the spread overall, hitting at roughly 55.5%. They're 36, 24, and 1 ATS in the divisional round. So underdogs, more often than not, tend to be the right side when you go back over the last 17 years. Underdogs of 4 points or more are 29, 19, and 1 ATS in the divisional round, and we are seeing some larger spreads this weekend, so that specifically applies here. However, it is worth pointing out that coming off of a win in the wild card round as an underdog, these teams are only 11 and 12 ATS, and this applies to the Titans, the Seahawks, and Vikings. So just beware of that teams have a little bit more difficulty pulling off the back-to-back upset as an underdog in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. In terms of the total, the under tends to be the right play in the wild card. It was 4-0 last week, going back to 2003. 44 and 24 in the wild card round overall. But when we reach the divisional round of the postseason, that trend flips, and we see that the over more often than not has hit. The over is actually 35, 28, and 1 in the divisional round. So that's something to keep an eye on moving into this weekend. All right, so let's take a look at the current odds between the Vikings and the 49ers midweek, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. 49ers are currently favored by 7 points. Total sits at 44.5. So some trends to consider here. Let's start with playoff underdogs on the road of 7 to 9 points. Overall, 20, 11, and 1 ATS, and that includes a 10, 5, and 1 against the spread record in the divisional round. So that's very encouraging if you're looking for the Vikings to spring another colossal upset here. Also know the playoff underdogs of 7 to 9 points getting less than 50% of the public action, and the bets are on the 49ers right now, and they're on the 49ers heavily. Know that these teams are 18-4-1 against the spread, and they're 14-4-1 ATS when a favorite of 7 to 8 points. So again, this strongly backs a play on the Vikings. I actually used this trend last week to pick Minnesota to cover over the Saints when people, especially in the public, were riding the Saints heavily. Also know that the Vikings typically have been a pretty live underdog under Mike Zimmer. 18 and 12 ATS as a road underdog under Zimmer. That includes a 6 and 3 ATS mark as an underdog of at least 6.5 points. And the Vikings are also 15 and 6 ATS as an underdog against non-division NFC opponents, including 11 and 4 ATS on the road. You get Mike Zimmer coach teams outside of the division, they tend to do well with unfamiliar opponents. They're a very disciplined team. They can run the football, play good defense, so this is not much of a surprise. In terms of the total, the over is 9 and 6 in the divisional round. When the total closes between 44 and 46 points, it's 6 and 3 when the road team went under in its previous game with a total that falls in this range. Saints-Vikings went under in the wild card round a week ago, and the over is also 7 and 2 in road games coached by Zimmer that closed between 44.5 to 46 points. All right, so as for some recommended bets on this football game, I'm starting with the Vikings as a 7-point underdog. I will take those points. I love Minnesota a week ago against the Saints. I love the idea of taking bigger underdogs going against the public. We saw that trend about those teams being 18-4-1 ATS I'm going to ride that again this week. I think that Minnesota competes. Again, they can run the football, they play quality defense, and I just don't buy San Francisco as a runaway type team. So give me the Vikings +7 at Fox Bet. Also like the idea of teasing Minnesota up to 13 and going over 38. That's a 6-point teaser. Again, if you want to cross the key number of 13, you can do a 6.5-point teaser, get that up to 13.5, and then drop this to 37.5. You obviously do have to pay a little bit more to do that. You can do it at DraftKings Sportsbook. Dalvin Cook to score a touchdown at +110 odds. You can get that at Fox Bet. Dalvin Cook is extremely explosive. You saw the type of damage that he did against the Saints a week ago after missing the final couple games of the regular season. He looked fresh and ready to go, and I expect him to find the end zone in this football game. All right, so let's take a look at the current betting odds between the Titans and Ravens, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. As we record this midweek, Titans a substantial road underdog, 9.5 at Baltimore, total set at 46.5 points. Some trends that I'm looking at in this football game. Look here, road underdogs of 8.5 to 10 points are 14-6 against the spread in the postseason. That includes 11-4 ATS in the divisional round. Those teams are also 6-1 ATS when they won on the road in the wild card round. So that's extremely impressive and gives us reason to believe that the Titans can carry their momentum into this game against the Ravens. Also know this, teams on a 10-plus game winning streak are 0-7 in the divisional round. This Baltimore team has not lost since the end of September, carrying a 12-game winning streak into this football game. These teams tend to do very poorly against the number in the divisional playoffs. Now, I don't want to say that Baltimore has no chance to win this game and certainly win it by a large margin. You look at John Harbaugh in the postseason, 11-5 ATS mark, that's outstanding, but he's only 1-2 against the spread at home. That includes a loss last year to the Chargers in the postseason. And something else that I'm looking at in this game, Titans are 7-3-1 ATS with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, while road teams are 8-4 ATS when the Ravens are at home in Lamar Jackson's start. So as good as Lamar Jackson's been, hands down the MVP of the NFL in 2019, he has not been great at covering the spread as a home favorite. His teams are also 6-2 ATS when a road underdog of at least 6 points going up against Jackson. So there are some trends pointing in this football game on the Tennessee, or trends pointing to the Tennessee Titans. And then in terms of the total, the over is 14-10 in postseason games that close with a number between 46 and 47 points. And it's also 5-2 in the divisional round of the postseason. So all that being said, here are some bets that I like between these two teams on Saturday night. First of all, I am looking at the over. You saw the Titans play a ball control offense last week up in Foxborough. I actually do believe that Ryan Tannehill is going to have to make some plays in this football game. And I also look at Baltimore's ability to finish inside the 20-yard line. I think that they're going to finish drives, not settle for field goals in this case. And I believe that the pacing of this game is going to get us up over 46.5 points. So my play is going to be taking that trend of when you see in the postseason games that close with the 46 to 47 point total. I'm going to ride that here, take the over at DraftKings. Also like the Ravens to win the first half outright and go over the first half total. That is a prop, a specific game prop bet that you can take at DraftKings. Pays out +163. Ultimately, I think if Baltimore is going to win this football game and advance to the AFC Championship game, they're going to be winning at halftime. So let's eliminate the spreads altogether. Take them outright in the first half, over the total in the first half. And then finally, I also like Mark Andrews to score a touchdown. I think there will be a concerted effort by the Titans in this game to try to limit the run game, try to take away Lamar Jackson inside the 5-yard line. I think that that's going to open up some things for Andrews to score. That's a +138 payout. All right, so let's take a look at the current odds, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook, between the Texans and Chiefs. Chiefs, a monster 9.5 point favorite in this football game. Total set at 51, so odds makers expecting some scoring in this contest. So what are we looking at here in terms of trends to know? Well, road underdogs of 8.5 to 10 points, 14-6 ATS in the postseason. That's an 11-4 ATS mark in the divisional round and 6-2 ATS when the team is coming off of a win as a favorite in the previous game in the wild card round. So that applies to the Texans there. Road teams coming off of wins of 3 points or less in the wild card round. Obviously, Houston just squeaked by Buffalo in overtime a week ago. These teams are 9-4-1 ATS in the divisional round, although they had been 8-1 ATS prior to the 2015 season. So in recent years, we have seen a little bit of a reversal or a regression in that trend. Now, I'll tell you, not a huge Bill O'Brien guy. One of the primary reasons that I actually took Buffalo to win and cover a week ago, I was wrong. Something to know about Bill O'Brien's teams, they're only 22-29-1 ATS as an underdog, including 3-8-1 ATS as a dog of at least 7 points. 2-6 ATS when a dog of at least 8 points. That does not bode well for them in this football game. In terms of the total, I love the total in this game, and I love it for a few reasons. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the total here. Under is 36-23-1 in games coached by Andy Reid at Arrowhead Stadium. That includes a 16-7 mark for the under in games played December or later. That's huge. Since the 03 season, the under is 12-6-1 ATS in Andy Reid's postseason games, including 9-1-1 in home games, 3-1 with the Chiefs. So these trends are screaming at a play on the under. And then finally, the under is 11-5-2 in non-dome postseason games with a total of at least 50 points, 11-4-2 in games that close with a total of at least 51 points, including 5-3-1 in the divisional round. So you look at Reid's history as the Chiefs coach at Arrowhead in the postseason, then just in general, what teams do with a higher total in the postseason in games that are played outdoors, and it is all pointing to the under. So some recommended bets that I do like in this football game. I like the idea of DeAndre Hopkins and Tyreek Hill making some pop plays in this game. 75-plus yards each for them, pays out plus 125 with Fox Bet. I'm on that prop. I also like the idea of a teaser here. Take the Chiefs down to 3.5 and then the under at 57. So that's a 6-point tease. And again, that gives us a little bit more wiggle room with the total. And I also like Travis Kelce, 75-plus yards and a touchdown. The Texans are horrendous at dealing with the opposition's tight ends, and Kelce is certainly one of the game's best. I expect him to have a very, very good game this weekend. In terms of the game spread and the total, I like the under 51, and I will lay the points with the Chiefs. I think that they're going to run away from the Texans in this game. All right, so let's take a look at the current odds between the Seahawks and the Packers. Lambeau Field, cold temperatures expected. Final game of the weekend, Packers are a 4-point favorite. Total set at 47 points. These odds courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook as we talk here midweek. Some trends that I am looking at for this game. First of all, road underdogs that won their wild card game by at least 8 points are 21-12 ATS in the divisional round, including 3-0 ATS when they won by 8 to 10 points specifically. So these teams have a little bit of momentum riding into the divisional round, and that's what the Seahawks will be banking on here. Russell Wilson, 8-6 against the spread in the postseason. 4-3 ATS as an underdog in the playoffs, and 4-3 ATS on the road in the postseason. Aaron Rodgers, meanwhile, 4-2-1 against the spread, head-to-head with Russell Wilson. So this will be the 8th time these two quarterbacks get together in either the regular or postseason. Something to know about Aaron Rodgers is how he excels at home. And really how much he excels as a favorite, frankly. So take a look here. Tom Brady has been the only quarterback more profitable than Aaron Rodgers in the role of favorite going back to the 03 season. Aaron Rodgers, 84-57-3 ATS. And as a home favorite, 51-31-3. Those are outstanding numbers. He's been good as a favorite of 4 points or less, too, going 11-6 ATS as a home favorite. Now, the Seahawks, meanwhile, 6-2-1 ATS on the road this season. They excelled. That obviously includes their win in Philadelphia last weekend in the wild card round, and they're 19-9-2 ATS as a road underdog in Russell Wilson's start. So, man, these are two really strong trends that are kind of clashing ahead of this one. In terms of the total, the under is 29-15-2 in the postseason when the total closes at 47 points or more. And that includes 13-8 when the total is exactly between 47 and 48 points, as it currently is in this football game. And then finally, on the flip side of that, the over is 72-52-2, 58.1% win rate in all games played with average temperatures of 25 degrees or less, including 18-10-1 in the postseason. The over is also 40-29 in both regular and postseason games, with a closing total in the 40s when the temperatures are 25 degrees or less. And so what does that mean? Cold weather does not impact scoring. Wind does, rain does, cold weather does not impact scoring. We saw that last year in the AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Chiefs. So don't let the whole frozen tundra of Lambeau Field thing kind of deter you from taking a look at the over in this football game. Now, that being said, some recommended bets. Things that I'm looking at for this one. Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson each to eclipse 250 yards passing, plus 140 payout at Fox Bet. I don't believe that Seattle can run the football. They were unable to do so a week ago when they were going to Marshawn Lynch or Travis Homer. So I think that they're going to have to get it done through the air. And though the Packers do like to run the football with Aaron Jones, I believe that this is going to be an Aaron Rodgers game. I think we're going to see quite a bit of passing on both sides. I also like the Packers in the first half. I expect them to get out to a quick start and take at least a field goal lead into the locker room. So I'm going to take them first half minus 2.5 at Fox Bet. And also Aaron Rodgers under 1.5 touchdown passes minus 106. Get that at DraftKings Sportsbook. Wait a minute, you're telling me that there might be some scoring, you'd like them to throw for over 250 yards. Why under 1.5 touchdown passes? Because Seattle just does not give up touchdown passes. Only 1.1 touchdown passes per game this season the Seahawks are allowing. So though you can move the football on them, we saw the Eagles do it with Josh McCown last week, they do clamp down in the red zone. So I'll take under 1.5. I think that they're going to use Aaron Jones around the goal line. He'll provide the points in this football game. In terms of the side, I like the Packers. I just don't believe in the Seahawks. I look at their yardage overall for the season. I look at their point differential. I'm not impressed. And though I don't love this Packers team, I'll take the home field advantage and I'll take what I believe is a more rounded and better overall team. I'll lay the 4 points and I'll take the Packers. In terms of the total, I'll go over 47.5 points. All right, so let's take a step back and run through all of our weekend picks here. First game on the board, we have the Minnesota Vikings and the San Francisco 49ers. I can't get over the fact that teams that are bigger underdogs in the postseason, when the public is against them, they tend to cover. I'm taking the Vikings with the 7 points, though I do suspect that the 49ers will end up advancing to the NFC title game. As far as the other Saturday game goes, we have the Titans and Ravens, 9.5 points. To me, that's just too much. I respect Baltimore. I believe that they probably will ultimately win the Super Bowl, but 9.5 against a team that plays decent defense, can run the football. Ryan Tannehill has proven in the second half of the season that he can make some plays. I think the Titans hang around and cover the 9.5, though, again, I do believe that Baltimore will advance. In terms of the other AFC game, you have the Texans and the Chiefs. I do not think the Texans are very good. I know that 9.5 is a lot of points. I just told you that it was. I don't think it matters here at Arrowhead. I'm taking Andy Reid and the Chiefs to blow the doors off of the Texans on Sunday afternoon. So give me a winning cover in that game. And then finally, the last game of the weekend, Seahawks-Packers. I do not believe in the Seattle Seahawks. I am taking Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers to cover the 4-point spread and advance to the NFC title game. Once again, if you are looking to bet on this weekend's NFL playoff action, you can head over to crossingbroad.com/DK. Download DraftKings Sportsbook. They will give you up to a $500 risk-free first bet. Also, be sure to check out Fox Bet, crossingbroad.com/FB. They'll give you $20 just for signing up and match your first deposit up to $100.